Well, g'day. Iron Horse here again for another video to talk about time itself. About time, mate. Moon calendar, time and longitude calculator, and the origins, well, the start of the actual calendar that we should be using. I did write this out tonight, so it's a little bit messy. I just did it so that I would understand for myself. Sunday on a 28-day calendar is always going to be the 1st of the month, the 8th of the month, the 15th and the 22nd of the month. Now if there's 13 months in the year of 28 days, it gives us 364, and as we know, in a solar day, as calculated, well, that's a solar day or year, you should call it. There's Sol there, Sol Leviticus. There's 365.25 days in a year. I call it a solar cycle, I think, yeah. A day is obviously the daily 24-hour cycle, and that's kind of what this one is. As a clock, the sun going around the equator takes exactly 24 hours per day, and so you can use that to work out your time zones. Now each one of these is a time zone, and when the sun goes around 365 and quarter times, we get a year. So we divide the year into 13 months. Now this is how it used to be done. Now if you count them back, what we've got, I haven't thought this through how I'm going to do this yet, but what I want to do is work out new months for the Aulimoroa calendar. So if we work with me here, if we got Sep, Oct, Nova, and Deca, that's 10, that's 9, that's 8, that's 7. So then July would be 6, June would be 5, May would be 4, March would be 3, and Feb, Jan. So January, February, March. Huh? We left out April. Poor old April. So anyway, what I'm trying to get at is September, October, November, 7th, 8th, 9th month. So March, April, that makes more sense. Where's my edit button? We'll just use this. So how's it go really? It goes Jan, Feb, March, April. That's close enough. 4, 3, 2, 1. So I said 12 months in a year. January, February, March, April, May. You left out May this time, didn't you? June, July, August. We left out Augustus. All right. So then he's 7. No. He's 6. God, you can't get nothing right, can you, dude? Anyway, we know what I'm talking about. The fact is, our calendar has been so fucked up over the centuries that we need to get it sorted. So what I've decided, everybody knows that the spring equinox is the start of the year, and that is why the people that celebrated it on April 1st ended up being called fools, April Fools, because they were celebrating the new year after the March equinox. But if we started doing a real calendar where we made the first day of the year actually on the equinox of spring. Well, here in Aulimoroa, that is actually going to be in September, I think. So, yeah, September 22nd. So September 22nd would be the first day of the year, which would be Sunday the 1st. Gets a bit complicated because when you're trying to transition from one calendar to a next, you've got to throw the old calendar out. Now, I'm going to do it 6 months in reverse as well because it's easier, because our current calendar works from the northern hemisphere, the inner side of the equator, where most of the people lived, where all the calendars and stuff got arranged in the first place. So, you know, the reason we use a calendar, basically, it's a form of slavery. It's as simple as that. That's how it came into being in the first place, is that when you've taken slaves captive, you know, it's one thing to have slaves, but at the end of the day, you've got to make them happy. You've got to make them complacent. You know, you could possibly even show them that by taking them from their homeland, their former existence, where people struggled from season to season, year to year, that you've actually given them a better lifestyle, and so that they will choose that over what they had previously. I think I might just tilt this back just a little bit. That's a bit better. Board in the center of the screen. So when you're working for somebody, basically, how does it, you know, you work every day, dawn till dusk. You don't know what day it is. What difference does it make? All you know is that the moon is going from full at sunset one day, and then each day it rises a bit later and later and later and later until after about 28 days, the moon rises full again. Now, if you really look at it, it's about 29.4, I think, more or less. So it doesn't exactly fit the calendar. But that's okay, because for the slaves, that sort of gave them an extra long weekend every 4 weeks. Now, so what they decided then, if you divided that into 4 sections, because quarters are much easier to work with. So we say 28 days, divided into 7 days, and we name the first one after the sun, the second one after the moon, and so on and so on. They're all named after the planets. Sorry that my linguistic abilities, yeah, I know that's Odin's day, and I think Odin is Zeus, so, you know, Wednesday's weird and dumb. But I do know that Saturday is Saturn's day. Yeah, that one's pretty obvious too. And Saturn is Satan, the great deceiver. So he's the one that's in charge of it all, and that's why his chosen people always celebrated their Sabbath, or had their Sabbath, the day they couldn't work, in honour of Satan, or Saturn. So that was the day off. So then the working week started again on the 1st. So the 1st, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Then you have a day of rest. And then you rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So that's basically why we have a calendar, is so that we can keep a track of the slave system. And then if an incident occurs, you've got a date that you can refer to. If you go into a court of law and you don't have a date and a time when something happens, you've got nothing. That's what all evidence of law and everything is based upon, is time and date. So most people, if you're anything like me, you're sick to death of the current system we're living in. It is bullshit. It's utter criminal bullshit, and it's making things worse and worse and worse for the ordinary person. I got sent 2 links today off a friend I only just met recently on Facebook. 2 of them. She's from Sweden, lovely lady. First one says about the forced vaccinations. They're going to be forcing people, and if you refuse for any reason, you've got no reason to refuse, you'll be put in a quarantine camp, and the only way you get out is if you either take it or you're forced to take it, if you get out at all. This is the path that they are sending us down. And we, the people of Earth, of Aulimoroa, aren't going to sit back and take it. This is our way of just saying no. We have to invent an entire new system, an entire new law system, one that works with nature, that is of nature, and it's for us, the natural born people of Earth. So if we revert to a more natural calendar and have our own system, then we can live by that. And then we have an alternative system that sets us apart from the old Black's Law system under the freedom of religion laws, if nothing else. And just the fact that we can be sovereign citizens without having to go through their system. You know, when Jesus was crucified by the Romans, it was only because the Jews had separate law from the Romans. And so when the Romans took over a certain place, you know, they became the masters, the landlords of it. They did it, the way they did it was to make everybody go along to get along, is that they said they will also uphold the local laws. And so they could see no particular crime that Jesus had done apart from healing people on the Sabbath. You know, he might have upturned a few tables of bankers, money exchanges in the temple. You know, like if you're a holy man and you see people desecrating your temple with transactions of their filthy lucre, well, yeah, you might get a bit drunk and you might get a bit mad. Speaking of which, I do have a lovely little home brew here, and I'm going to have a drink to the first warrior to overturn the bankers. My man. Rightio. So, if we've got our own system, and we start living by that, and we start trading in our own currency, and we've got our own calendar, like as we transition into it, we will definitely have to be using a bi-calendar. You know, it goes both ways. So what you have to be understanding then, if we call that Aulimoroa first, Ol1, September 22, and we've got a starting date that we can go by. If we did it the other way, as I said, with March, so March 22nd being the spring equinox from the inner hemisphere, we can do it the same way basically. But so what I want to do is come up with new names for the months, for the moons. And so the way I thought I'd do it is by using the moon calendar. Each moon, well, that's a moon, that's the last full moon we just had. Hang on, no, that's the next one will be March 7th. It'll be in Virgo, and the sun will be in Pisces. So then the next one, when the sun has moved into Aries, the moon will be almost a new moon, and it's in Pisces. And the equinox is at 8:25 a.m. on Tuesday the 21st. So it varies from month to month between 21st and 22nd most of the time. Sometimes it's even the 20th, simply because this calendar, the January, February to December calendar, is wrong. It's just wrong. It's not the right calendar. So if we go so this year, the 21st of March is going to be the first day of the year. So if we put 21st of March, well, March, as you probably know, is named after Mars, the planet Mars, and the war god Mars. You know, to march into war, and the ram, the battering ram. So what I think we need to do is come up with better names for the months. And by using the traditional zodiac, we can come up with new names. And you know what I like? Ra, Ma. Ra is the sun, Ma the mother. So the first day of the year can be Ra, Ma, and it aligns with the 21st of March. So then we need to come up with the second month. The second month we move into Taurus. Taurus, the bull horns, the cup, the chalice. Taurus, the bull. Taur, I like Taur, or the toroidal field, you know, it's the next motion of the Taurus. So I think keep the month simple. The second month can be Tau, Taur. So we'll go to the next month then, it's Gemini. Gemini, the twins. The twins, the bipolar opposite sides, the quick thinking, it's associated with Mercury, the fast thinking, I haven't thought past Taurus so far, so this is me thinking out loud. I appreciate it. If you've got ideas, give me some hints what you think for the twins, Mercury, the fast thinking, the third month of the year, the Trinity, the Mercury. What's the other name for Mercury? It might come back to me later. For the moment, I'm just going to write Mer, because if we keep them down to 3 or 4 letters, that makes it nice and simple, doesn't it? We don't have to think too much about it, because we always abbreviate it anyway. Ma, which was March, the third month, is now Mer, the third month. But the year has changed 3 months to where it should be. So next comes Cancer. Now this one I have thought about because I'm Cancer. I'm actually born right on the cusp of the solstice. And if you know anything about the path of the sun, it's actually the highest point above the earth, spiraling up, and the solstice means turning point. So that's where it peaks and then it returns, comes back down. Yeah, that's where we get the whole image of the Christmas tree with the star at the top, the star of the sun. So the June 22nd is Cancer, and Cancer has been denigrated so much that it's become one of the most deadly diseases of mankind today. Now that's another thing which Aulimoroa is going to fix and heal, because if you know anything about the history of cannabis, is that when Richard Nixon, the only president who was in power when any of the faked moon landings happened, and moon is the ruling sign of Cancer, by the way, and its symbol is the sideways 6-9, the yin and yang, so it's the completion. Way to lose track. So when he was in power, he hated the hippies so much because they enjoyed smoking the cannabis that he put the best scientists to do the biggest studies they possibly could to find reason to outlaw this horrible, toxic, poisonous plant that's ruining the minds of the youth. And after several years, they came back and said, it actually cures cancer. And he got so furious that he made it a Schedule 1 drug, as bad as heroin and all the rest of the Schedule 1s. It's natural plant cannabis. So it seems so natural then that the cure for cancer is cannabis. So we'll call the next month Canna. Even though it's got 2 N's in it. I'm trying to keep it to 3 or 4 letters. So Canna is when we go into Cancer. The sun goes into Cancer, and that would be the true Christmas celebration here in Aulimoroa, because that's the winter solstice and it's the return of the Son of God. So we have our Christmas on June 22nd, and that's the beginning of the month of June, or month of Canna, begins here on the solstice, which this year it is on the 22nd. Woo! It's on my birthday at 1 AM, so it's only just over the 12 midnight mark, and it's going to be a waxy moon, and it's in Leo, and that's pretty powerful because Leo is actually ruled by the sun. It's the lion, so I think Leo is going to speak for itself pretty easily by the time we get to it, which is in fact where Cancer next moves into is to Leo. So it goes without saying, the next month is Leo, the lion, the roaring sun returning. The next month, September, is Virgo. So Virgo, the Virgin. I think that's pretty straightforward, that we just call it the month of Vir. So what have we got now? First month, second month, third month, fourth month, fifth month, sixth month. We've got 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 to go. So after Virgo, we shift into Libra. Libra. So I think that's it's the scales of justice, and this is where I think the world has gone mighty wrong, and it's part by design, part by accident, I think, is that when the Statue of Liberty holding the flaming torch, that's not actually Lady Liberty, even if she's got scales of justice in the other hand. The flaming torch is Lucifer, and Lucifer is the light bearer. So he's not that bad a fella, you know, he is actually also associated with Leo. So we can't, what we have to do is take back the things that we've been made afraid of. And by taking them back and realizing the things that we've been made afraid of are our powers that we can have on our side. So Lucifer, the light bearer, is not Lady Liberty at all. That's the trick. They've put the Lady Liberty in a place called Queens in the Big Apple. Now, how many, you could write a book on that. That's a book in its own thing. Ellis Island, L for, you know, the god electricity. It's so many things associated with the month, with the name L, and Lucifer, and Lucy in the sky with diamonds. I'll be getting onto that. In fact, that's what I wanted to make the video on in the first place. It was Lucy in the sky with diamonds. So I've already raved for more than 20 minutes. So I think I will start another video after doing this one, the calendar one, and I might even take this hemp shirt off, because it's, even though it started off as a cool day, it's already getting warm. So to liberate can mean two things. To liberate can be to set free, but it can also be to overcome societal norms. So if you're liberated, quite often that means that you would do things that go against your very nature, such as having sex with people of your own sex, or things to that effect. Why am I seeing a flashing blinking light? Are you seeing a flashing blinking light? It's the one that's saying it's recording. It just happens to be right in the pyramid from my perspective in the screen, and I'm like, what that? Okay, it's all good. We're back on track. So Libra, I think we'll just call it the month of liberation, or just Liber. We'll work on that one. I don't think that's the right name for it yet, but Liber. It's growing on me already. Okay. Next we go into Scorpio, and we go into Scorpio. Oh, in fact, yeah. Well, that's Libra is the next equinox. So that's our what do we call that? That's our autumnal. No, that's our spring equinox. So it's spring for us. That's our new growth. So that would technically be our first month of the year, because it's in well, hang on. There it is, equinox. It's on the 23rd of September. So it's usually the 22nd, 21st. This year it's the 23rd on the false calendar. So as I say, every 28 days we'll get these things more squared out again, and if we stick to a strict calendar that works to the moon and the equinoxes and the solstices, then what we'll find is that every year there'll be different months which have an extra day at the end of it, and that will be where we have a 2-day weekend. Now, don't worry about that too much. It's not just going to be 1-day weekends for you working slaves. I've got a solution for that as well. We'll get to that later. So the next month then, after September, is October, where we move into Scorpio. So Scorpio, the scorpion, the stinger, is, it's quite a masculine sign. In fact, let's see, Scorpio is it's a barren, Scorpio is a water sign. It's a water sign like Cancer and Pisces. So it's more of a lobster than a scorpion, to be honest. They're very similar sort of species. So it is something to think about. Scorpio. I don't like the name Scorpio. Scorpio the scorpion. What did I say? Lobster? We'll just call that the month of Lob. For now. We'll come back to it. 9, then the next month we move into November to December, and on November 23rd at 1:04 AM the sun moves into Sagittarius. Sagittarius the Archer. I think that's pretty obvious, that's the month of Arch. Then we've got the 10th month, we move from Sag into, Sag into Capricorn. Capricorn the goat. So I think that's pretty easy, we can call that the month of Cap, or even Kappa. I like Kappa. Don't ask me why, it just sort of matches with Kenna, Kappa. Capricorn into Aquarius. Aquarius the water bearer. That's the age that we're moving into now, the age of Aulimoroa. And since we don't have a month for Aulimoroa at this stage, I'm going to call that the month of Aulimoroa, in which I'll call that Oli. Oli is Aquarius the water bearer. That's by my decree. I make that one. And the next one, we move into Pisces. Pisces the fish, that was the age of Jesus. Pisces, why not? It's just Pisces. I don't know if that's how you spell it, P-I-S-I, Pisces. So we've got Rama, Tor, Mer, Canna, Leo, Ver, Liber, Lob, Arch, Kappa, Oli, Pissy. Pissy. That's a bit pissy. We're going to have to change that one. Pisces the fish. Could be a bit fishy. Fishies. What do they call that? Ichthyologist? Is it something? Anyway, we've got to start somewhere. We can fine-tune the names later. So this will work to give us 364 days of the year. So at the end of the year, as we go back into Rama, there will be another extra day of 0. So we'll have a 0 day there, and every 4 years, another 0 day. So that'll be the So it's a longer celebration to celebrate the new year, extra days off. And that works, that fills the calendar. But now if we want to keep the solstices and the equinoxes occurring on the exact same day every year, it won't work because it's fixed. It's the same problem that we got with the clock. If we want the clock to work fixed 24 hours in a day, it works perfectly fine if it's the sun moving around above the equator every day. That works because that will keep the sun always overhead at midday. Now that's one thing that the helioists don't understand in their model, how it can be so wrong. I've explained it plenty of times in my other videos, of course, but since we're moving from the heliocentric calendar into the Aulimoroan sensible moon calendar that works sun and moon balanced together, then we have to drop the silly notion that we're on a ball spinning around the sun. You know, it's the simplest thing to understand is that the clock cannot work to a sundial, because if the planet goes around this, if this is the Earth and it's spinning once, well, there's 12 o'clock pointing up right there. So if it goes around the sun, it's always pointing upright all the way around. So up here, the sun's in the middle. Well, then it's midnight at midday according to the clock. Midday is at midnight. Midday's up here, so it's midnight up there. So the clock and the sun are incompatible, and that just proves the heliocentric model wrong, just like that. There's no more argument. We don't have to talk about it anymore. The Earth is flat and stationary. The sun goes around the equator, and as it spirals up and gets further away, it's like if you look down a tube. I don't have a tube handy here at the moment, but if you look down a tunnel, you know that as you look down it, the far end will look a lot smaller than the nearer end. Bring it up near, look how big it is. It fills nearly the whole screen. Bring it all the way back, it gets tinier and tinier and tinier. So the same thing is happening as the sun gets higher until Cancer, the first of Cancer, then it's furthest away above the Earth, and so it will make a smaller circle, and that is why it goes around the Tropic of Cancer. And as it gets nearer, because above the Earth, right? Okay, I think we've understood the calendar here. Can I remember all those names? Yes, I videoed them. Cool. Right, yeah. So now we've got to work on the model. That'll do. So the model of how it looks above the Earth. So from here we've got a top-down view. So from here I'll exaggerate the size of it because we need to. So here we've got the North Pole. So that's, you can't really call it Cancer 1 because the sun is still out here. In fact, tell you what, let's make it a little bit more realistic looking. This will help. That's better. Rightio. So there's the North Pole. I wish I had colours that work better, but they wore out pretty quick. Cheap stuff. That's the North Pole. Here is the equator. Here is the Tropic of Capricorn. No, hang on, wouldn't be that far out. I'm going to try and do this reasonably to scale. There's Tropic of Capricorn, and there's Tropics of Cancer. In fact, Cancer. It's working again now, good. Right, so we've got our Tropic of Cancer. And we've got our Tropic of Kappa. It's all working out quite nicely. Kappa, Cancer, North Pole, South Pole is the outer rim. That's the South Pole, there's your North Pole, there's Kappa, there's Cancer, and there's Kappa. That's the equator there. That's the equator, the red line. Doesn't actually say on it, but it's probably that line around there. This is the Tropic of Kappa. So the sun beams down from the North Pole. I'm going to draw the North Pole all the way up. This is a theory I'm still working on. If we're at the sun there, what else do we have directly above the North Pole? Polaris, the only fixed star, the only one. They say out in the south, we've got the equivalent of a southern celestial pole, but we don't. Now this is where I should start another video because I've gone for 35 minutes already. So join me for part 2. Thank you.